Hey, Hamzambo, what's up, and welcome to the Hosted by Spice podcast. You can call it the HBS podcast. Remember, you can always connect with us on our social media platforms. We are on Instagram, Hosted by Spikes, and you are always free to also shoot us an email. You can write to us, monyejispikes@gmail.com. And the goal of this particular program is to get you more informed and enlightened on matters Africa and also matters that have to do with us as a Black people globally, whether be it in the Caribbean, whether be it in the States, whether be it right here in Africa and all over the world. So, welcome to the show. On today's show, we shall be discussing a very, very important or critical matter that has to do with the West African region, and I'm talking about the cause of the coups in West Africa. We have seen so many countries over the last few years actually have a transition of power from sometimes what you might call democratic systems and to take over by the military juntas. So recently, there has also been a conversation that has been asked, where the question has been asked: are these military coups the way to go, or are they bringing a lasting solution to the problems that these particular countries are actually facing? In September, on the September 30th in 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traore took over Burkina Faso following a military coup that ousted the interim president. His name was Paul Henry Sandaoga Damiba. And what did happen with that is that Traore, and of course, being part of the military unit, they organized and they orchestrated a very, very successful coup. And from that particular point, Burkina Faso has now turned around. If you look at what Burkina Faso used to be and what Burkina Faso is right now, things have actually changed in that particular country. And Burkina Faso is now seen to be changing. You know, it seems now to be changing because people are now talking about progress and saving of resources as compared to what used to be in the previous years, when there was a whole lot of wastage and a whole lot of corruption with the government in that particular country. So right now the question is being asked: are these military coups the way to go for West Africa? That was in September 2022. Up until now, he is actually the leader of Burkina Faso. Some people have praised him for sort of bringing austerity measures to that particular country. Wastage has been reduced. And they have also turned from France because there was a big, I would call it dependence on France for most of these West African countries. And right now, Traore has been hailed as one of the most promising leaders of that West African region. So people have for long talked about the curse of the military coups in West Africa, but slowly there has been some tendency or some turnaround in terms of the thinking behind these coups in West Africa. And talking about West Africa, Burkina Faso is not the only country that has faced these particular coups. We did have the coup that did take place also in Guinea. And also in Guinea, there has been the military man. His name is actually Mamadi Doumbouya. Mamadi Doumbouya. This is a man I'm talking about right here. He was also part of the army, and in September, the year 2021, he did take over. At that particular time, he was 36 years old, and he did take over the leadership of this particular country known as Guinea. But the problem is now, from changing the perception of an imposing figure, to someone who is now taking over the country and who wants to be seen as a democratic leader, that becomes a very, very big challenge. There are some people that concur and agree that for some cases, for some African countries, a dictator might actually do the trick. If you look at the former president of Libya, of course, he was taken out by NATO. I am talking about Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi was a dictator for a very, very long time in his country, for Libya. But he took this particular country to a whole new level where even his country's currency, it was at par with the US in terms of the exchange rate. You to exchange one Libyan dinar, you would get one American dinar. For one American dinar, for an American dollar, you get one Libyan dinar. So he had gone to a level where that he had taken his country to another level. But then again, look at what happened after NATO took him out. Of course, Obama was the president in that particular period. They took him out. The country went crumbled. And now you're talking about a whole new country, which is Libya, which has actually been facing very, very many challenges because there has been that tussle of people, the push and forth, and people trying to be in control of the leadership in that particular country. Nonetheless, let me know what you think. This is at the HBS podcast where we discuss important issues that have to do with us, that are Black people as an African people. And you can always feel free to reach out and let us know what you feel. For the president, or sorry, for that military leader, I'm talking about Guinea's Mamadi Doumbouya. Right now, he's actually he's actually looking to be seen as a man who is putting in place democratic principles and, taking care of the rights of the citizen rights in this particular country. Of course, right now he's 41 years old. When he took over, he was 36. And he did actually put together a whole new system when they ousted the president. The president was known as Alpha Conde. Alpha Conde had stayed in power for a very, very long time, and he was a man who was seen to be one of the most corrupt leaders in the history of that particular country. But then again, we have had now these cases of the country is being destabilized by military coups. Recently, there were some men that were apprehended in Nigeria. And these men that were apprehended in Nigeria, they were actually accused of plotting a military coup in Nigeria. Nigeria has been relatively stable. If you look at the country, it has been relatively stable. But what did happen is that these officers, they were actually arrested. And right now they are facing trial over the coup, planning a coup in Nigeria. And what has happened is that for a very, very long time, West Africa has been plagued by this whole problem of the coups. We can call it the cause of the coups in West Africa, the cause of the coups in West Africa. So a group of officers in Nigeria, they are set to face a military court after being accused of plotting to overthrow the government of the president, Bola Tinubu, last year, according to the statement by the armed forces. These 16 officers were arrested on October after what was described as acts of indiscipline and breaches of service regulations. At the time, the military dismissed rumors of an attempted coup, but following an investigation, the authorities have acknowledged that some of these 16 will go before a military judicial panel. And Nigeria has a complex history of military involvement in politics with multiple coups between 1966 and 1993, which made allegations of coup plotting highly, highly sensitive. So they have actually seen it in Nigeria 1966 and 1993. They did have that history of a coups in their own country, and therefore it becomes a very, very serious matter when we talk about coups in Nigeria. And not just in Nigeria, I've given you perfect examples in Mali, other examples in Guinea, other examples in Burkina Faso. But the cause of the coups, will that now change into a blessing? Because right now we are seeing that things are working out, supposedly working out in Burkina Faso. I have not had the opportunity of having anyone on the ground to let me know if this is just propaganda or actually things are working out on the ground. But if ever I did have someone who would let me know, I would appreciate very, very highly to know how things are going on in Burkina Faso. But from the look of it, they are working towards self-reliance, and they are, of course, cutting away the ties with the French, because there were so many military forces in France. There was in Burkina Faso was said to be peacekeeping on a peacekeeping mission. They were, of course, thrown out in Senegal as well, and other West African countries that were former French colonies. Most of these have been kicked out, and these countries are now looking forward into even having more cooperation amongst them. When these countries did change power from the citizen, from the civilian rule to the military rule, some of these countries that have undergone coups, they have been also dismissed from the ECOWAS, which is the economic community of West African states. Some of them have been dismissed, and some of them have been suspended. Their membership has been suspended from ECOWAS, but I believe that has not stopped them from thriving. So let me know, what do you think about this so-called curse of coups in West Africa? And do you think this is a time where things are changing and things are slowly moving from a curse into a blessing? If you look at Burkina Faso, for example, and Guinea, which is also in West Africa, where they are now under military rule, led by military juntas. What do you think about this whole issue of the curse of the coups in West Africa? Let me know. Like I did say, you can connect with us on our social media. We are on Twitter, We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, hosted by Spikes, and you can also write to us, monegspikes@gmail.com, or write to africanwaynetwork@gmail.com, and I will be more than glad to hear from you. Till next time, much peace and love. Take care.